Welcome students. In last period we have finished type conversion and today we are going to see inheritance. Inheritance. So today's article is inheritance. Now what is meant by inheritance? So when we had started the C++ at that time, we have seen the definition of inheritance. That is, object of one class acquire the properties of object of another class. Object of one class. Object of one class acquires the properties of object of another class. So one class acquire the properties of object of another class. Object of one class acquire the properties of object of another class. In other words, one class acquire the properties of another class. So obviously their objects will acquire, because after all objects are variable whose data type is class. So object of one class acquire the properties of object of another class. In other words, one class acquire the properties of other also. So obviously if a class acquire the properties of another class, object also acquire the properties of another class, because object is a runtime entity, object is user defined variable class. So if class acquire the properties of another class, obviously its object will acquire the properties of object of that class. So in other words, it is also known as reusability. What is meant by reusability? You see, object of one class acquire the properties of object of another class. Now the term here properties stand for not characters. Properties stand for the property which make the man rich in his. Similarly, the properties of any class, data member and function member, it is its property. As our property is our vehicle, our home, bank balance, this is just like our property. Similarly, class property or property of a class. What exactly is property of a class? Property of a class, it is data member and function member, it is its property. So property of one class is acquired by another class. That's why now we'll see. Now let there is a class A. And class A, its property is integer x, and inside the public void get x, integer a, x is equal to a. Look at this class, very simple class is there. One data member, one function member is there. One data member, one function member is there. Now we are going to finish the class here only, and we will define one more class. Say class B is there, and inside the class B we are defining a data member integer y, and inside the public there is a function void get y into b. Y is equal to class function. Now you see, two classes we have defined, class A, class B. Both the classes are distinct, different, isolated, standalone, no doubt. These two classes, class A, class B. Now suppose we are going to create the object of both. Why do we need? A object is O1, B object is O2. Now you see, object O1 belongs to class A, object O2 belongs to class B. This is object O1, this is object O2. Now, two objects are there, object O1, object O2. O1 is the object belongs to class A. Class A consists of data member x and function member x and data. O2 belongs to class B. Class B consists of data member y and function member get y. Get y. This is the private section, this is the public section. Now, these two classes are different, and according to our definition of inheritance, object of one class acquire the properties of object of another class. So obviously, first class must acquire the properties of another class. Then obviously their object will acquire the property. Here class B, class A. Now class A, class B, and suppose here class B is declared as a child class. A child class. The term child class is for our convenience. The standard word is derived class. Derived class. If we declare the class B as a child class or derived class, and suppose class A is declared as base class, or parent class or base class. Now how to declare that we are going to see. How to declare a class as a parent class or base class, how to declare class B as a child class. But just before a moment, these two classes were distinct, isolated, but now class A we are going to declare as a parent class, class B we are going to declare as a child class. How to declare the class B as a child class? Class B, give here colon and write down the class name, public A. Look at this colon. Now class B, this should be pronounced as derived from class A. Class B derived from class A. Now class B, in previous these two classes were distinct, isolated, no relation between these two classes. But now class B, this is colon, but we have to pronounce it derived from. Class B derived from public A. It means class A. Now there is a relation between these two classes. Just before a moment, these two classes were standalone, isolated, separate. There was no relation between them. But now class B derived from public A, it means class B become child class, class A become parent class. Now what happens when class A is declared as a base class or parent class and class B is declared as a child class or derived class? all the property of base class or parent class become the property of child class. We know that is the inheritance. The term inheritance stands for whatever is our property and our parents' property. Obviously, our parents' property is inherited to us. So here what will happen? Class B is declared as a child class. That's why all the property of class A, that is function member, data member, will become the property of it. So here what will happen? Not only there is a y, but also x there, and even get x also. Now actually private members are not inherited. That's why we are going why x is not inherited, why get x is inherited, why x is not inherited in O2, because private members never inherit, only public members are inherited. Private members, as the name indicates, it is private, it is not accessed by another, it is not accessed from outside the class. Similarly, private members never inherits, they are there only. But get x is the public, that is available in O2. Now you can ask the question, O2 belongs to class, O2 object belongs to class B. Inside the class there must be the y and get y. But there is a y, get y as well as get x. Actually get x belongs to class A. Then how come it is available in object of class B? Because class A is declared as base class, parent class. It means that as a class A is declared as parent class or base class, its property is available in class B. We are not seeing here this, but that is available, and hence we can say object of class B O2. Object of class B acquire the property of object of class A. O1 belongs to class A. Hence, in our own, we can say now here object of class B. Who is object of class B? O2. Acquire the property of object of class A. Who is there? O1. In our example, in definition we have seen, same we are experiencing here. What the definition we have seen? Inheritance stand for object of class A acquire object of one class acquire the properties of object of another class. Here in our example, we have declared class A as a base class, class B as a child class, and we have seen object of class B, who is O2 belongs to class B. Acquire the property of object of class A. Object of class A is O1, its property get x, you can see here. So that's why this can be connected now. What it indicates? This is a base class, this is derived class. This one is a parent class, this one is a child class. So this is the inheritance. So just look at here, have a glance. Now, we are going to see here class A we have declared as a parent class, class B we have declared as a child class. How that relation is established? By using this column. Then what this public is? This is called as a visibility mode, but this is also called as derivation type. Class B derived publicly. Class B can derived privately. That is called as a type of derivation. That also we are going to see. Now we are going to see here we have seen class A, class B, two classes were defined. Both the classes were distinct, standalone, separate. There was no relation, but we made the relation in between class A and class B. Class A declared as a base, class A declared as a base, class B declared as a child, derived. So there are different levels of derivation. For example, let here is a class A and let here is a class B. So a class can be derived from a class. It is called as single inheritance. Single inheritance. It is called as single inheritance. Similarly, a class can be derived from two base classes. Say class A is there, class B is there, A inherits to this class and B also inherits to this class. Let us suppose this. This is called as a multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance. This is also possible that a class can be derived from several base classes. Now, third, a class A inherits to class B, class B inherits to class C. That is called as multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance. Now, it may be possible a class A is there and it inherits to B. It also inherits to C. This is called as hierarchical inheritance. Hierarchical inheritance. Now, one more type of inheritance there may be. You see, here class A inherits to class B, class B inherits to class C. There is one more class D. This is called as hybrid inheritance. Hybrid inheritance. Now you see, a class can be derived from single base class, single inheritance. A class can be derived from several base classes, not two, several, multiple inheritance. A class is derived from already derived class, multi-level inheritance. Two or more classes, several classes are derived from single base class, hierarchical inheritance. And here, two or more types of inheritance are involved. So all these are called as types of inheritance. Types of inheritance. Types of inheritance. What this? Types of inheritance. Types of inheritance. Once again we are going to revise it. When a class is derived from single base class, single inheritance. When a class is derived from several base classes, multiple inheritance. When a class is derived from already derived class, multi-level inheritance. When several classes are derived from single base class, hierarchical. And when inheritance involve two or more types of inheritance. How? If you hide the A, you will see this will be multiple. If you hide the D, this will become multi-level. And if you hide the C, and connection is made like this, what will happen? It will become hierarchical. So here two types of inheritance are involved. If you hide the D, multi-level. If you hide the A, multiple. So today we have seen inheritance, types of inheritance. Tomorrow we will start one by one programming for each type of inheritance. Thank you.